With the release of Beyond Light, the Destiny PVE metagame has changed forever. Maybe not in the terms of weapons, but in the terms of abilities. Stasis has completely changed the PVE game upside down. It is so much more fun and so much more in-depth than any of the light-based subclasses that the game has to offer. I am Hal Who, and this is a PVE-based video. I realise it's been a while since I uploaded, and, you know, that's not my fault. It's funny how there isn't any content to make when the game doesn't have any content. So, this build has 4 different uses, and what are they? Crowd control, ability spam, a constant stream of damage buffs, and survivability. So what do you need for this build? You need 2 things. The second stasis aspect on Warlock, Frost Pulse. Casting your Rift generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants. This has a very forgiving range. And finally, the Vesper of Radius chest piece. Planetary Torrent. Rift releases an arc shockwave when cast. Rift energy recharges faster when you are surrounded by enemies. So, how does it work? Well, it's quite simple really. You run up to a group of enemies, you place down your Rift, and it simultaneously freezes them and releases the shock pulse, which immediately shatters them. While it's difficult to tell that you're actually freezing them because they die so quickly, you are getting the damage boost from the stasis fragment Whisper of Hedrons. In basic PvE, such as strikes, lost sectors, general gameplay, this build is a tad overkill, and you won't see most of the benefits work as you'll be killing things so quickly with the combo that the rest of the build doesn't get time to shine. The other fragments that we'll be using are also incredibly important to the build. The first one being Whisper of Refraction. Defeating slowed or frozen targets grants you class ability energy. The ability to just put down a rift, freeze everything around you, then immediately destroy them all and gain practically your entire rift back is what makes this build so powerful. Whisper of Fissures increases the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. When everything around you is frozen, anything that happens to be out of the radius of the rift should also be killed by the explosion of the frozen target. Lastly, Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. It can go up to a maximum of 10 seconds. This is really strong with max discipline, which is what I'm running for my build. In endgame content, this build requires a little bit of extra help. So this is where mods and weapon choices come into play. I have chosen a Warmind build. It wouldn't be a Destiny PVE build if there wasn't Warmind mods thrown in there, let's be honest. So the idea is, you kill ads with your Warmind weapon and it gives everything around you a debuff, which means that not only do you do increased damage to them, you take reduced damage from them. This allows you to go into waves of enemies and just place that rift down. This will kill everything around you, and you simply rinse and repeat. In terms of Warmind weapons, here are the list of weapons you are able to use to generate Warmind cells for the build. 7th Seraph Revolver, 7th Seraph Carbine, 7th Seraph Sidearm, 7th Seraph SMG, the Ikelos SMG, the Ikelos Hand Cannon, which is unavailable at this time unfortunately. To finish off the video, I'm going to go over my mods, why I'm using them, how I think they help the build, and why I think you should use them too. To start off, on my helmet, it's a Void Affinity, which allows me to use Dynamo, because they moved it to the helmets this season. It reduces the super cooldown when you're using your class ability near enemies, which, funnily enough, is the point of the build. Going into a group of enemies and popping down your rift will not only kill them to give you super energy, but Dynamo will also give you super energy as well. Next up on the helmet is, in my opinion, the most important mod. You take reduced damage from enemies that are near Warmind cells. This is super important for survivability, and it allows you to get in to those large groups of enemies and place down your rift. For the gauntlets, I've put global reach on them. Warmind cells, you create, affect and damage targets at a greater distance. This increases the secondary effects of mods. So for example, I will weaken enemies or do more damage to enemies that are near Warmind cells at a further radius. The elemental affinity of the gauntlets is irrelevant. It's whatever you have at the time, it's whatever you can use. I happen to have Arc, so I've just rolled with it. Gauntlets are incredibly important in every season of Destiny now, because it's where they have put the anti-barrier mods, the overload mods, and the unstoppable mods. So make sure that you cater the gauntlets to your own playstyle. On my chest piece, I have the Power of Rasputin. You gain a bonus to weapon damage against enemies that are near Warmind cells. This, coupled with Global Reach, increases the radius at which you will deal extra damage to enemies that are near Warmind cells. This is a Void affinity mod, so it must be on a Void armor piece. It doesn't need to be on the chest piece. I just happen to have a Void chest piece at the time. This is actually one of the crucial mods to the build, so make sure you can try and fit it in somewhere. On the class item, the Rift Loop is now starting to come into play. The Void class item, in my opinion, is the most important part of the build. It has 3 different mods, which are very important, and it has to be Void in order for this to work. Distribution reduces all ability cooldowns when using your class ability near enemies. This will give you your grenade, your melee, and I think it increases the super regen just a little bit as well. Secondly, we have Perpetuation, which is a Void mod, but it's very important. Reduces class ability cooldown when using your class ability. Do you see the loop there? You pop a rift and you get a portion of your rift back, and then once your shockwave has killed all the frozen targets around you, it will then give you more rift energy back, which will allow you to, once again, repeat the cycle. Lastly, we have Warmind's longevity, which speaks for itself. Warmind cells you create last longer. This allows you to debuff enemies for much longer, allowing you to stay alive and deal more damage constantly. Overall, the class item is probably the most important part, because it increases the rate at which you get your class ability. To summarise, this build is so much fun, and it is now my main PVE Warlock build. I love that it takes an F tier exotic in Vesper of Radius, and then this season has made it into an S+ tier exotic. It's definitely a niche, and I definitely think the Well of Radiance in endgame activities like raids is just so much more usable. But for general PvE mobbing, this build is fantastic. It has so much versatility, and it really allows for the fantasy that Destiny just encompasses as a whole. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope to see you in the next one.